Um, I wanted to come present biomes to you today because that is something we cover and because, dun, 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 there we go, it is part of your survival project. So let's jump in. Okay, so what are biomes? Remember in the hierarchy of life, I wonder if it'll show you. What is happening? There we go. In the hierarchy of life, it is, well, in ecology, we start with individuals. So we say species, and then population, and then community, and then ecosystem, and then biome, and then biosphere. So it's not the biggest, but it's the second biggest. Okay. So a biome has to have its own climate that is specific to that area. Now, a biome can be a set of conditions that are present across multiple continents. So when I say tropical rainforest, right, you get an image in your head on what kind of environment you think you're going to be walking into, right? When you think tropical rainforest, you think, okay, tropical, that must mean that it is warm or hot, right? And very humid, okay? And it's going to rain a lot, and there will be lots and lots of plants and animals, right? That's sort of the picture that you get. Now, I didn't tell you what continent you were on. I didn't tell you even smaller what country you landed in or anything like that. All I just said to you is tropical rainforest. And you know that no matter where you are, a tropical rainforest will share, a certain set of characteristics. And that's called a biome. So a climate is one of those characteristics that it has to have. Let's take a desert, for example. You know it's going to be really dry, right? You know it's not going to rain every day in a desert. So you have this notion that no matter where you are, if you are in this biome, you can kind of grasp what type of characteristics to expect. So biomes have their own climate. Now, there's a difference between climate and weather, so let's not get those mixed up. Climate is a year-to-year average of precipitation, and precipitation can be either rainfall or snow, right? Precipitation. And then two, climate has to do with year-to-year averages of temperature. That's not to say that temperature doesn't fluctuate, but we're talking overall, right? So that's a climate. It's these year-to-year averages. And then weather can change day to day. Today, it's rainy outside. That's weather. That's not climate. Today, it's chilly outside, but next week, it could be really, really hot. And like here, right, where we're from, the weather, we joke, can go through all 4 seasons in a day, or at least 3 seasons. You need to dress for 3 seasons in one day here. That's weather, right? That changes minute to minute, day to day. It can be freezing cold in the morning. It can be hot in the afternoon, and it can feel, fall-like by the evening here and raining again. Like, you never know what to expect. So that's weather, but our overall climate where we're from is called temperate deciduous, and that has to do with the plants that are here. We have deciduous trees. Okay, so let's jump in and start learning some of the big biomes. There are lots and lots of biomes, but we try to stick to the main ones. Okay, so here are, let me see if I can move my face. There I go. Okay, so here are the major biomes that we are going to talk about today. There is the tundra, the taiga. Okay, the taiga can also be called the boreal forest. And those two names are synonymous. They are the same. Deciduous forest, which is where we live, tropical rainforest, and let's see here, desert, and then grasslands. And there's different types of grasslands. All right, let's see here. Can you go? There we go. Okay, so we're starting with the tundra. The tundra is it's the coldest biome. We are talking the North Pole, okay? Way up top. Let me see. I think I've got a map. There we go. Okay, so this is where the tundra would be found. It's as far north as you can go. It is cold. It is the world's coldest biome, obviously. As far as, let's see here, there's a picture of summer. Summer. Doesn't it look so warm? Um, okay, so what you can see is that part of it does melt, right? As far as the surface snow, and so you can see some standing water in summer. However, the soil has gone through what is called permafrost, and that means that even though it looks greenish on the surface, if you were to take a shovel and try to dig down in there, you would hit ice. So the soil is permanently frozen. So even though the top can thaw, the soil, the water that's actually trapped into, the dirt, it's permanently frozen. And so you're never gonna just dig up a ton of stuff there because it can be frozen. I want to say up to I don't even know. I think the first, oh, I looked this up one time. I think the first foot is thawed, and then after about the first 12 inches, I think it goes straight to ice. So this top layer here would be kind of mushy, and then it would just be frozen solid. Frozen solid. Okay, so these are some characteristics. It is the least biodiverse. What is biodiversity? Okay, so if bio means life and diversity is like lots of different types of things, right? Then that means lots of different types of life all living in an area. That's what biodiversity is. So it's the least biodiverse, meaning that there's not a ton of different species that can live there. Now let's think, why would that be? Right? Okay, so it's so cold, it's so harsh, it's so inhospitable to live there that there's no way that animals can just flourish. So there's no way that there can be tons and tons and tons of different species that live there because it takes a very special group to survive there at all. And they are so tough. All right, so it's the coldest biome, it's least biodiverse. Oh yes, on top of everything else, it's really windy. If you note, a lot of wind is actually stopped by trees. And if you see that picture right there, no trees. What you're seeing are tiny shrubs and sort of grasses, and they're all really dark in color to try to absorb as much heat as possible. But no trees, so there's nothing to stop the trees, right? Or stop the trees. There's nothing to stop the wind, so it's just, and it's so cold. Oh, it's awful. No, thank you. Okay, so strong winds. There's actually not a lot of precipitation here. That's kind of a myth. So some people think that because there's snow right there, that it must snow a lot. It doesn't. It rarely ever snows or rains for that matter. It's just the deal is it's so cold that whatever precipitation is there in the mountains, it holds on because it never gets warm enough to really lose it except for in the summer, and that's really only a very small percentage. Let's see here. Oh, yes, long, cold, dark winters. Winters here can last upwards of, well, they last 24 hours a day for multiple days in a row. So there's 6 months of winter and 6 months of summer. So what that means is that because of the axis of the earth and how we rotate and all of that, that no matter what time of day it is here in the winter, it can be noon or midnight and you'll get the same amount of light. the sun will never rise and the moon will never fully set. So the moon just bounces from horizon to horizon, and you never even get a little peep of sun. And then in the summer, it does the opposite, and the sun never fully sets. It never gets like dark, really. It gets dim, right? But never like pitch black. The sun just bounces from horizon to horizon. And so midnight and noon sure look a lot alike. So there's all kinds of issues that happen in the human body when the sun never sets or when the sun never rises, either one. You've got some melatonin stuff that happens in your brain, and it really causes a lot of problems for the human body to live in an environment like this. Okay, let's see here. Hey, down here. All right. Animal adaptations. Who can live here anyway? Animals with really thick fur. Okay, lots of fat or blubber. Let's see if I can move my face down here. There we go, our friend the polar bear. Special note, polar bears and penguins do not live in the same places. That's a common misconception. Polar bears are North Pole and penguins are South Pole. So they actually never meet, despite what we see in the movies. All right, so things with thick layers of blubber and thick fur, usually the things that can survive the best here are small, with the exception of the polar bear, right? And polar bears are dwindling, so save the polar bear. And okay, so plants, we cannot get really big plants there. So just small, tiny plants, dark in color. They're very, they're hardy plants, but they don't block any of the wind, and they're not like a super luscious food source or anything like that. Okay, let's see. All right, so we're gonna stop this video and I'll make a new one for the taiga.